The Ferrari Formula 1 team is on a long road to recovery after weathering a crisis in 2020, but it will travel that road without arguably its most powerful and vocal ally. Louis Camilleri's sudden exit as Ferrari CEO could have a defining impact on the F1 team and its leader Mattia Binotto. Camilleri's immediate resignation for personal reasons was announced on the eve of F1's final race weekend of 2020. His exit triggered conflicting reports over whether being hospitalised with COVID-19 was a driving force behind it, but the news surprised Ferrari as the F1 team was not aware it was coming. But who is Camilleri, what's his relevance to the F1 team, and why does it matter which ex-Marlboro man sits in Ferrari's boardroom next? I'm Scott Mitchell for The Race, and this video is going to answer all of those questions. Camilleri and Ferrari chairman John Elkann replaced Sergio Marchionne in July 2018, shortly before Marchionne died. Camilleri was a key backer of Binotto, who he and Elkann made team principal in place of Maurizio Arrivabene at the start of 2019. Between them, Camilleri and Binotto were trying to enact a very significant change behind the scenes at Maranello. They wanted a healthier working dynamic and espoused a top-down commitment to internal support and improvement rather than making heads roll. Binotto talked of rediscovering the joy of competition rather than being ruled by fear of mistakes or failure, while Camilleri said that in the past too much pressure had been applied and created a revolving door atmosphere that he was putting a stop to. It was a shift towards Ferrari's best approximation of Mercedes, not necessarily an accurate replica, but something closer. Ferrari's massive slump on track in 2020 doesn't really support the suggestion that Camilleri's leadership was working for the F1 team, but the automotive side of the business was a success and Binotto remained in charge despite Ferrari's underperformance and the speculation and investigation over its engine's legality in 2019. That underlines the faith Camilleri had in Binotto and the commitment he was showing to this rebuild project. In Abu Dhabi, Ferrari sporting director Laurent Mekies said Camilleri had shown incredible support during a time of crisis for the team. Several times over the past 12 months, Camilleri has staunchly defended Binotto and the wider Ferrari organisation. He's hit out at the accusations faced last year over its engine as a targeted attack on the team, and earlier this year, after Ferrari's dismal start to 2020, he reiterated it was at the beginning of a new cycle with a long-term plan. A few weeks later, Ferrari announced the formation of the Performance Development Division as part of a technical restructure, but crucially with the same personnel involved. And early in the summer, Camilleri said that any setbacks would not change the team's chosen course and that he had every confidence in Binotto and the team in addressing Ferrari's shortcomings, a sentiment he reiterated later in the year as well. Ferrari has changed as a company in recent years, and it's possible that the F1 side of things is not as politically loaded for the CEO as it was before. For example, the roles of chairman and CEO were split when Marchionne stood down, indicating Elkann and Camilleri could take charge of different areas. Camilleri and his predecessor were not racing men, but both took the reins at Ferrari following long careers at its longtime sponsor, the cigarette company Philip Morris International. However, they were both extremely different personalities, and that was manifested in how they did the job. Marchionne was a relentless operator who applied constant pressure through his actions and his expectations. Binotto said that working under Marchionne meant living with the phone next to you and an expectation to reply within 30 seconds. That approach contributed to examples of brilliance within Ferrari, but it also created a fear of failure. Binotto also admitted that Marchionne put pressure on Ferrari to pursue grey areas as much as they could. That could be why Ferrari went so far with its 2019 engine shenanigans that courted so much controversy. Now by then, Camilleri and Elkann were in charge rather than Marchionne, and Binotto ran the race team. So they are in no way pardoned, but the roots of that would almost certainly stretch back to the Marchionne era when Binotto served as chief technical officer. As CEO, Camilleri was different. He remained more at arm's length, and though he attended several races, he was happy to let Binotto call the shots. Camilleri was therefore a completely different boss, and those beneath him had a completely different environment to work in. So it's little wonder Binotto spoke more fondly of him, calling Camilleri a great man and a great friend. Considering Camilleri's exit and Ferrari's poor 2020, the logical question now is whether his replacement will support Binotto and the team's chosen route to recovery in the same way, or believe change is needed. Therefore, who Ferrari chooses to replace Camilleri will play a major role in the F1 team's short and medium-term future at the very least. Binotto believes had Marchionne remained in charge, he would still be where he is now, running the team. However, that confidence will now be tested by several questions. Will Camilleri's replacement continue to favour Binotto in light of a difficult season? Will their attitude towards working practices and patience be the same? And will Ferrari's progress down the path of recovery be maintained, or will yet another course be charted? There's little room for a sudden Ferrari resurgence in 2021, so the new CEO will have to have realistic expectations, otherwise any good that has been done this year risks being undermined. Camilleri knew that and said in late summer, the situation cannot improve in 2021. For 2022, new regulations come into play, and every time there has been a huge revolution in terms of the technical framework, it can change the pecking order. We have the talent, the work ethic and determination to get there, and I'm confident we will be up there battling again. For the sake of Binotto, the race team and the operation Ferrari wants to become, Camilleri's replacement needs to have a similar outlook. But what do you think of Ferrari's short, medium and long-term future? And do you think Binotto's the right guy to keep in charge of the race team? Let us know in the comments below, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe to The Race to keep up to date with all our videos we have in the future.